Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. It is CoachFury here and we are back today with the latest episode of our Chicago Bulls Let's Play series in Season 3. As you can tell by the slideshow, the thumbnail that we've got up, we are basically trying to see if we can win a championship in this third season. We acquired Kawhi Leonard in the off-season for a free agency, and well, we're trying to pair him with this incredible young core to try and win a championship this year. And well, we saw at the beginning of the last episode that we managed to cruise through back end of sort of the end of the year, and well, we're in good shape. We're in very good shape actually. We are 28-9, and we are looking like one of the premier teams in the NBA at this stage. We currently have the best net rating, the best offensive rating, the 5th best defensive rating, and well, we've been playing some amazing basketball, to be honest with you, at this stage. We are, the most efficient team in terms of offense, just in terms of the field goal percentages, the second net rating, the overall net rating leader, etc. So we're progressing really well. We've got a couple of one major injury, which is Wendell Carter, who is out for 19 more days. He broke his foot a little while ago, and about a month or so, and we've basically been plodding along fairly nicely, it's fair to say, without him really. Kaheem Birch has come in off, as part of our main bench rotation, and has actually been doing pretty well. He's in terms of his actual performances, if we go to the game log, you can see here he's putting up some pretty okay numbers, to be honest with you. If we go down the bottom here, he's not taking many shots. We don't necessarily need him to, but the plus minuses are all in good position. He's grabbing rebounds, he's making plays, and well, he's actually slotting in quite nicely, which means probably, unfortunately, Patrick Williams is not going to get much playing time this year, to be honest with you, which is a shame, because he's actually been, one of our mainstay players since year one, and the same with White, really, who we're going to put back in the lineup, but obviously we've been basically playing him off the bench with very limited minutes. So he will come in for Macklemore, who has actually, I think, done a pretty okay job, to be honest with you. He's not necessarily added a great deal, but he's added a bit of shooting, which is kind of what we needed him to do. So, but I'm happy to bring White back in. I think White's having a fairly good season off the bench in some of his limited minutes, and well, we're kind of plodding away and doing pretty well. So we're going to kind of carry on in this episode, keep moving forward. We'll check our inbox for any updates. So we've got a couple of scouting updates. I'm not necessarily worried about that at this stage. And well, we're going to carry on. We're going to get ourselves forward those 19 days, bring Carter Jr. back into the lineup, and kind of go from there. So we'll get ourselves to the 21st. We obviously do have the All-Star games coming up and the trade deadline, and we'll probably get to that point in this episode and just have a little bit of a chat about those, see if we have any All-Stars, and think about it going into the next episode whether we want to make a trade or two. So we won't stop on any action emails. We'll leave that for now, and we'll keep moving forward as we get a nice win there against Houston, but we immediately get an injury to Birch, who is out for 14 days. Okay, so just as soon as I do all that build up to basically say that Williams is probably not going to play many minutes for us, he is basically coming straight into this lineup. And well, he's coming in off the bench, it's fair to say. He's going to take, we're going to give him these centre minutes to begin with. Let's just get that out of the way. But I think what we're going to do is we're basically going to say we're going to give him the power forward minutes, I think. And the reason for that really is because I'm fairly comfortable with giving him power forward minutes, because I think he can actually probably play there and be fairly effective there. Let's just move the small forward minutes over to who's playing garbage time. Ingles can come in. So the reason being is that he is 6'7", so he's a bit undersized, but he can play defense and rebound where needed. He actually is not a bad inside scorer, and I kind of want him to stay inside if he is going to be on our rotation. So we're basically going to put him in and say any minutes there you can basically take those off of Jackson Jr. Jackson Jr. can basically just pretty much play centre for us at this stage, and I'm actually going to leave him in there in terms of a couple of centre minutes, just because we need to put someone in there. But we do have Carter back in 18 days, Birch back in 14 days, and I think I'm going to progress maybe just another 5 days and just see how this team does without a actual centre as such off the bench. So we suffer a loss there to Golden State, again one of the probably better teams in the Western Conference, but we get a win there against the Lakers, and we seem to carry on plodding along actually okay. So I think we'll just carry on 8 days and 13 days. So we'll get forward 8 days. We can bring Birch back into the lineup, and then we can go from there. So we'll keep moving forward. We're obviously basically playing really ultra small ball at times now. We are playing a 6'7" centre who can actually play a bit of defence. But I'm interested to see how it plays out, to be honest with you. It's a nice option to consider, because we might end up in a situation where we lose some of our front court, and if we can put the likes of Williams in there okay, then that kind of works out okay for us. And it seems like we're doing pretty well with that lineup. So let's take a quick look at the actual results. It's interesting to have a quick look. So we obviously played the Bucks. Pretty convincing win here, with Williams actually putting up some good minutes. Let's take a look at the game logs and see how he's been doing. So yeah, look, he's definitely a much better power forward centre. Definitely much better than he is as playing at small forward, which is interesting because I hadn't really ever considered putting him in as a centre in terms of his minutes. But I mean, I think the thing is to say now is that Birch is back, so Birch can come back in. Williams, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to say, Williams, you just keep those power forward minutes for now. And Birch, you just take those centre minutes. And we'll go a little bit deeper into our rotation here and just see how this pans out. So if you take those, won't give you any centre minutes actually. Let's just give you power forward minutes for now. And let's move forward with this and see how it looks for the time being. We've only got 3 days, so we're only going to have one game where we do have this lineup. I'll go forward the week. Why not? Give ourselves a chance to get everyone back fully healthy. We get a win there against Atlanta to kind of round out the end of this rotation and these injuries that we've got. So we will certainly. I will check actually. Let's just double check that last game. It's just an interesting thing for us to keep an eye on. Yeah, Williams is actually a very, very good power forward. That's something I never considered. Birch didn't do a lot in his 13 minutes either. Why Ingles played some minutes. We obviously went deep into the bench, I'm guessing, because we were pretty much blew them out. Jackson Jr. with a great game. Yeah, okay. So we'll restore our lineup anyway. Unfortunately, I think that does mean that the likes of Williams is certainly going to be losing out a little bit, but it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. And we'll just readjust this lineup. We'll leave Hill in there, yeah, why not? And we're going to go back with this lineup for now. So we've got a couple of key dates coming up that we need to be aware of. And the first one being obviously that we have the All-Star games coming up, and in February 16th to the 18th. And then before that, we've obviously got the trade deadline on February the 8th. So I think we will move ourselves forward to the week before this trade deadline, and if we get any injuries, but we'll move to the 1st of Feb, see what trades are available, and maybe we'll take a sort of a small hiatus here and see how things go. But let's keep moving forward. What emails have we got? We got the scouting emails. Okay, some comments and some scouting updates. I'm not overly worried about that. So let's move forward to the 1st of Feb. And see how we get on with our main rotation back in here. So we suffer quite a heavy loss there to Washington. 141 points we put down. But we come back and get a win against Oklahoma. Clark with 30 points. And we get another win there against Phoenix, one of the top teams in the Western Conference. That's a nice marquee win for us. But we've gone a bit mixed bag here. We are 2-2. In our little run here. We have a comment. I'm not too worried about that. So where does that leave us a week outside the trade deadline? Well, we are still quite comfortably top of the Eastern Conference. We do have the best record in the whole of the NBA at this stage with a 38-12. We are in really, really good shape. Our defensive rating has dropped off quite a lot. It's probably because we've adjusted our actual sort of rotation a little bit more heavily in this episode than we have done previously, but our offensive rating has kind of matched that. So we are #1 rated offense, and our net rating is the highest in the league. So great shape for us here. But we are playing heavy minutes to our guys. You can see here that the likes of our main starting lineup is still putting out some good numbers. Interesting that Kawhi Leonard's numbers have dropped off, but his actual numbers shooting wise are actually pretty much on par with his normal career averages. Same with Brandon Clark having again another phenomenal season. 68%, I'll certainly take that. So I know we did talk last time a little bit about changing Jackson Jr.'s shooting percentages, because I'd love to get that up to about 50%, and I think we will do that in this episode. Clearly his inside shooting is very, very efficient, and we want to try and move him a little bit more into doing that really. So let's take a look at his shooting numbers. Let's have a little look. Shooting stats. So one of the good things about this game is you have a nice little stats key here. So if we look at Jackson Jr., obviously majority of his shots are inside. You can see here 2 points attempt, and if we scroll down here, I think it's around here. 2 points, shots is 2 points. There's a lot of his shots are inside, which is great. And in terms of his percentages, obviously he's not that great a 3-point shooter, but when you look at it, he's pretty much making most of his shots inside. But then when you scale him out, he's actually better at shooting beyond the arc or up close. So we want to try and stop some of these mid-range shots that he's taking. And in order to do that, we basically want to say no mid-range shots, and probably we want him driving a little bit more versus a pull-up jumper, for example. So into the strategy, let's go to Jackson Jr. and we want for 1 month for you to probably post up more at the expense of the, I think it's drive and shoot is the pull-up jumper, or the shoot off dribble is the pull-up jumper. So I want him doing less of that. So we're going to get him set on that and go from there. But we've obviously sorted that out. In terms of the team, are there any trades that we necessarily want to make at this stage? I think that's something we need to consider. We do have some trade bait in the likes of Tony Jenkins, a first-round pick. Some of these bench players who are not really getting much playing time for us are pretty much available. I mean, another guy we could throw out there is probably Kobe White, although I'd be hesitant to do that considering he is a restricted free agent anyway going into the off-season. We do have to consider, I guess, other things, whether we want to extend Brandon Clark at this stage, which again I don't think I'm going to do because he is trade restricted. The same with Kobe White. We can basically retain those as much as we want. So in terms of players available, who is on the trade block in the NBA? Let's have a look. So we've obviously got Damian Lillard, who is still available. 42 million in salary. We basically are not going to be able to do that now at this stage. We don't have the salary to kind of match that. Bledsoe is obviously on the block. We traded him away for a first-round pick, and they are obviously trying to shop him. No surprises, he's a $19 million salary. James Harden is available, but again, $47 million. We simply can't afford that. I guess Jaylen Brown's available, but we've obviously got Kawhi Leonard, so we don't really need anyone in that position. So there's not really a great deal of players that I would be overly excited to bring in, really, that are really going to move the needle for us at this stage. Interesting that Paul George is available again, another player who was on the Clippers with Kawhi Leonard, but we don't really want to have to try and fit him into our rotation. So I'm not seeing a great deal. If we go to the front court, not a lot actually. Nothing again that's going to really move the needle for us at this stage. Anthony Davis is available, but $37 million. We basically are not going to be able to do that unless we basically were considering moving a couple of our big salary guys. And to be honest with you, I'm not willing to do that. I think Wendell Carter Jr. and Jackson Jr. are much more valuable as a pair and on good salaries. Obviously, we've got Kawhi Leonard's huge contract. But outside of that, we don't have a lot. I mean, we could, if we wanted to, pair up Patrick Williams with, say, McConnell, that makes 12 million, and Trent Jr., that makes about 20 million. But we're not going to get anywhere near to anyone that we really would want to move the needle. So I think I'm going to just carry on moving forward. I will put a couple of guys on the trade block. I will just see what's out there for Williams. We'll see what's out there for White. We'll put Jenkins on the block. Trent Jr. is just so valuable on that contract. I'm not going to move him. And the likes of McConnell. Let's just see what's available for those guys, really. If we get a trade offer, then great. We'll consider it. But we'll keep moving forward. We'll stop on anything, but we'll move ourselves to the All-Star game unless we get any bids. I don't think there's any point in us wasting around on trade deadline. Unless we get something thrown our way, we're not going to necessarily be that worried. I will actually not go to the All-Star game. Actually, we'll go to just past the trade deadline, see what's there, and just see what other trades happening in the league. So we get a win there against Brooklyn and a win against Miami. So we've stopped the back and forth rot of losses, which is good. Rotation's coming back in, got more of a rhythm now. Clark has just been phenomenal in terms of scoring. There was a whole bunch of trades that just happened there, and again. So we will certainly look at that. Let's have a look. Are there any big notable trades that we should really be reviewing? So Kevin Love has again been passed around. He's now off the Clippers. He has gone to the Warriors for Draymond Green, which is interesting. Draymond Green actually not rated that very high in this game. Good defender, but I'm guessing he's not a bad shooter actually. He's not bad. Better than his star rating would look like. So he's gone to the Warriors, and Draymond Green and Bowman have gone over to the Clippers. A couple of releases there. Nothing really of note. Miles Turner has gone to the Raptors for Norman Powell, and that in a second. But nothing really notable. Kemba Walker in the first round pick has gone over to Golden State, so they're making some moves. Klay Thompson has been dealt from Golden State. That's interesting. They were obviously not wanting to pay his salary anymore, which I find bemusing, considering he is a good shooter still and a good defender still. He's still, granted, $40 million is a lot to pay for someone like Klay Thompson when you can get someone like Trent Jr. for $7 million, but still a big name being moved there. Cam Reddish and some packages gone for Spencer Dinwiddie. So a couple of big moves actually. A couple of big moves at the trade deadline. We obviously haven't got anything going on. No one's emailed us about anything. We're going to move ourselves to the All-Star date and go from there. Get a nice win against Detroit. We now have 43 wins. So we are in really good shape. We are basically a playoff team now at this point. But we'll get to the All-Star game. Let's see if we have any All-Stars. I would be amazed if Clark is not an All-Star. He seems to always... Oh, okay, that's worrying. He seems to always be up there. So we have an injury to Kawhi Leonard. Oh. Okay. Ouch. Not the end of the world. It means he will be back, I think, in time for the playoffs. So he's broke his leg for 49 days. Which puts him out basically, until the back end of the season. Oof. Okay, so that means that Clark's going to basically come in and play small forward. I am actually going to put Williams in at power forward, and you're basically going to drop right the way down the rotation. Oh, okay, that's a killer. That's going to kill our record, but it's not going to kill our season, which is the main thing. So I think what we'll do is we'll swap these guys around. And Clark, you will just play small forward for us, basically. But we'll get Williams playing a mix of positions, just because he can, and we know he can. We'll do something like that, I think, and then you'll just take those. And I think to end the game, you'll play small forward, and then you can play a couple of minutes there and a couple there. Yeah, let's go with that. So Williams is going to come in and play power forward. I know that's going to seem a bit weird as to why why are we playing Williams at power forward and not at small forward? But that's simply because Clark is just a better small forward than Williams. And look at the phenomenal numbers. So we're going to go with that. Actually, quickly, before we do that, let's just quickly check that your sub out rate is high enough, and it is. So how's Jackson Jr.'s numbers been looking the past few games? So his numbers have gone up. You see they're 48% from shooting. In the logs, yeah, okay, still not fantastic, but better than it was. So we'll carry on moving forward. We'll get ourselves the All-Star game. We don't have a game before the All-Star, which is good. So we won't hopefully have any more injuries. So we are at the All-Star weekend. Let's see who wins the Slam Dunk contest and the 3-point contest. So the Slam Dunk contest went to Diallo, and the 3-point contest went to Felicia, I think that was. We'll go back and have a little look. Yeah, so we had Williams in there in Slam Dunk competition. He actually came second. Okay, interesting. And on the 3-point contest, Trent Jr. was in there. No surprise from our perspective, but he didn't make it through to the next round. So we go into the rookies and sophomore game. Who wins that one, and do we have any players in this? So the sophomores took it by 12 points. Don't think we have anyone who is actually in either positions, which is not really surprising because we haven't really, apart from our guy in the D League, Mr. Jenkins, we don't have anyone who's actually really should be getting a call here. The one I'm really interested about is actually the Eastern and Western All-Stars game. So let's have a look. Did any of our guys make the Eastern All-Stars? The Western All-Stars took it, but in terms of Eastern All-Stars, Clark did get in. He played 9 minutes, which I am surprising he only played 9 minutes, to be perfectly honest with you, considering his numbers he's put up, which are probably just as good as the likes of Middleton and Tatum. But Doncic basically carried that Western All-Stars team with 41 points. LeBron James is still putting up some good numbers, despite being 38 years old now. And Williams came off the bench. Yeah, all the usual sort of suspects. Fox actually got an appearance, which is the first time I think I've seen him in there. Vucevic has been a regular from the Eastern All-Stars. Collins has always been there. Sexton was back in there. He's putting up crazy numbers, just can't play any defense. So that is where we are going to end this episode, I think. We have one All-Star. I think if Kawhi Leonard hadn't been injured, we'd have had 2. But we are in great shape. We are 46-12, comfortably ahead in the Eastern Conference. Best record in the league. And if we go to the insights page, you can see here we are the best offense in the league, 10th best defense. But we have been as high as 5th, and we have the best net rating. So great performance from this ball side so far. Can we carry on despite the injury to Kawhi Leonard? He will be back for the playoffs though, as we go into the next episode, trying to get the rest of the regular season done, get ourselves into the playoff position, and see where we go from there. If you enjoyed the episode, please hit the like and subscribe button. And well, we'll be back next week to see how we finish the regular season and see if we can get our best ever season finish, which I think we will be very close to, considering we've only won 53 wins now. So we'll see what happens next time. But we'll carry on with this ball side and see if we can win that championship in our 3rd season.